Good morning, everybody. Bear with me. We're setting up right now. Bear with me, guys. All right. Okay. I don't know what the hell happened there. Does that work? All right. Well, that's what we got today. That's what we got today, guys. I don't know what to tell you. You're gonna have to deal with the cough drop, and you're gonna have to deal with me sneezing. So it is what it is. Let's get to it. Let's go get one of these guys on and go hear what they're gonna say about. And let me make sure that this is set up properly so that I can hear the noise. Here we go. Oh, that's bad. 4-6 is bad. The 4.6 is really bad. Average earnings year over year are down. So it's not great. Yeah, I'm not really sure why we'd be going up on that. Um, hmm. I'm not really sure why you'd be going up on that. But you are. I don't think they're going to put it all in one spot where it's going to make me easy to go through it for you guys. So let's get to it. Let me go to another site that they'll have it all together pretty clean. Let's clear all this. Give me 1 second here, guys. All right, perfect. Yeah, they don't have that there. Oh my God. Yeah. So government payrolls were taken down to 157,000, way lower than expected. I don't see another way to do this except to just give you the screen. Hang on 1 second there. Here we go. All right. All right, British guy. That's enough. Yeah, yeah, it is. All right. Okay, cool. Let's do it. This is just trading economics. If you could just work with me, not against me, that'd be great. Okay. I don't want to buy your stethoscope. So ADP unemployment change weekly, actual versus previous. Non-farm payrolls, when you come in, this is what you're coming in at. Like, so when they're sitting here talking about these numbers, like, and here's the other non-farm payrolls versus the previous. So this is a huge revision down, enormous revision down from the previous number. The fact that you're like rallying on this is to me kind of crazy. And I don't know that you're going to continue to stay up. I'll leave it at that. So we'll get into that in a minute, but I would think that you come in pretty hard here on these numbers, but we'll see. Unemployment is supposed to be at 4.5 at the high end. You're at 4.6. That's an awful number. So if you look at that number, just put it in perspective. No, I don't want your pre-alcohol swipes. If you kind of look at that number, just to put it in perspective, this is where you're coming across. So it's not great at all. Not at all. So to me, yeah. Pardon me. All right. Okay. Yeah, it's not good at all. Jesus, this is really bad. What's with the stethoscopes? Wow, this thing's getting on my nerves. Non-farm payrolls, 65. Retail sales, 0. Unemployment for 6. This is really bad. See, it's 157. Versus previous year over year. So none of it's good. I guess the thought process is going to be, it's so bad. Sorry about that. It's so bad, it's good. Does it have to cut rates? Let's go take a look at this and see. Let me move this mic over. That might make it a little bit better for you guys. Let me go see something. Right to our level and then rejected. I'd like to see it retest it and then go from there. I want to see something on the CME site and see what they did with it. You don't have another Fed meeting till. It didn't even move anything on CME. Maybe it's going to take a while to update. Looks like it might take a little bit longer to update. All right, let's get to it. So I think there's a couple things going on here. Let's start with the basics. We'll go to a 5-minute chart. We'll get rid of the RSI, and we'll flip to this. I want to start over, as always, so that people can understand how we got here. So here we are on the 4-hour. You can see this value area up here. We keep hitting it, rejecting. We flip broke point of control. If we look at this now on a 5, you can see what's happening. I think the most important thing about this, if we go to this low and we drop a VWAP there, pardon me, you're trying to flip it. You're trying to flip it right now. I'm not so sure you're going to. I'm not so sure you're going to flip it. So like yesterday, Monday, like last night, you were below it all night. You kept hitting it on Friday and you kept hitting it on Monday, but now you're classically below it. So it's definitely out there. It's certainly something you have to pay attention to. And it's definitely something we need to pay attention to. So I do not view it as something that is fantastic. I don't know how else to say it. Like, I'm not crazy about it. Don't think it's great. I think it's a real problem. And I think it's something you have to really worry about. So let's see how it goes and we'll go from there. But you got to get above this level, man. And that's 6,900 roughly. So we'll see how that goes today. If you look at the 5 here, we'll just drop it that way. You can see exactly what it's doing there on the 5. And I really think they're your levels. And I think that you really want to pay very close attention to that. I don't think that you want to do anything more, quite frankly, than that. Like, just watch it. I went about as flat as I possibly could yesterday. And the reason was because you just don't know what you're going to get here today. And I really believe that. If I go and take a look now at the NQ, I thought this was super interesting. So I'll start over so you can see how we got here. Once again, if we go to the 4-hour, we go to the top of the 4-hour, and we drop this here. Come on, dude, work with me. I'm not in the mood. So that's where we dropped it from. It's just an anchored volume profile. You can see the high and how you've been bonking your head, bonk, 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 right? Complete Matumbo, broke the point of control, which is now moved up, which is also not great. But look at what you're getting here. You're holding that value area, that low. So you're still in the range. And you may actually try to bounce off of that, which seems to be what you're trying to do. So you can see that range. So it shows us that what we're doing is working as far as developing like where we should be looking at shorting, or, you know, where we would be looking to go long, that kind of thing. I do think it's pertinent to just do the same exact thing that we've done in both places, and to go to that low and to show you that you're below average. So the average person that bought the NASDAQ from here over is down on their trade now. If you go to the high of that peak, the average person that bought from the peak is down again, and they haven't been down again. So you have net selling pressure. There's no other way to sell it than that. There's no other way to say it than that. You have net selling pressure, hands down. And it is what it is. So deal with it, for lack of a better term. Don't convince yourself it's something else. It's not something else. This is what it is. So that's where I would start there. Now, this is also where we look at the Qs. And when we look at the Qs, we'll just throw in the ETH for a second. You can see it as well here on the Q side. Let's go to the hourly, and I'll go up here to questions in case we see them. All right, so you can see that you broke there on the Qs, and you can see that you broke here on the Qs, right? So it's really clear where your level is, right? You're right in here, like that 613, 614, like you broke. So that gives you your bottom, like right here, that 658 level, and then up top, I mean, you have the 639, but that's a pipe dream. So, you know, you're really up here at 630, maybe you could get there. And that's going to put you roughly at that 600 level. And I really think that that 600 level is definitely something that might be tested today. So I do think that's a possibility. And I do think that you could get tested in that area. So I kind of go from there. That's where my head is with it. So I really think let's open this bad boy up. And that really gets you to that kind of range. And I think you're in the middle of something. Going into semis, which to me look like they're going to be a bloodbath. Pardon me. And you can kind of see where you're at here. I hope I'm wrong, but you know, I own a ton of them, look like super long term. But to me, it looks like, yeah, that's it. Like you have a real problem on your hands here. I don't know what Micron could possibly say to have a good quarter. When you see what they did to AVGO and everything else, let's go take a look at these and make sure that we're on the same exact level. And that the levels haven't changed. Yeah, that's super interesting. What's so interesting to me here is how tight you are. Like you're really in a much tighter range here on the S&P, which is good and it's bad. But you're trying to hold that like 680 area. If you're above 680, you know, you're in good shape. Below 680, this can get wild. But I think that's how you want to view it. If you go back to these levels again, and we do the simplest of things and just drop it here, you'll see, oh, that's not perfect. Let's get it perfect. Okay. All right, work with me, not against me. I am in no mood for your nonsense today. All right, there it is. Yay. And it shows you where you are versus the cash market, right? So the cash market's always a little different. So I think that's important to just note. And so let's go look at a 5. And you can see where you're at here on those levels. And then if we go back here to the hourly once again, and then just drop this to the SPY. And what do you notice? That you hit a new high. So the question really becomes, do you go back to this high or do you start looking at this now? That's a really interesting question. I know that you guys are thinking it as well. So if I look at this, you'll start to see that this one's starting to probably get a little bit of play. See how you can't break above that level anymore from that high? It's a very different level, much more, I'll say, tactical, because that's your new high. So if I'm going to use the new high, there it is. And, there it is. Like, it's pretty obvious what's going on. Pardon me. If I go back to here, you get a lot more of like the breath, but I don't know, man. It's definitely of interest to me on what's going on there for sure. And I do think that there's something to it. And I do think you should pay attention to it. I think overall, what we really want to do, if we look at it, is understand that you're wedged. And for now, we don't really need this one. And we would understand that from back here, you're wedged in here and you're wedged in on the top of that high, right? And that's how I would focus on it. So when I drop it to a 5, this is what you're dealing with. And all of a sudden it starts making a lot more sense. Let's get you perfect now and drop you to here. Right. So, and then you'd say, well, do those levels make any sense? And so you just would see, like, well, we hit there and we rejected. Okay. They gapped us up, right? Okay. Come on in. Everything's fine. Was it? No, it was not fine. They hit that Monday at 11:30 and they can't get out fast enough. The peak people cannot get out fast enough. And so here, the peak people can't get out fast enough. So is that a level of interest that you might want to pay attention to? Yeah, it is. So that's how you find new levels. And yeah, that's definitely something I pay attention to. I don't think there's a whole heck of a lot to do, off the open, except understand that you're going to have massive volatility. And I don't really want to be shorting when everything's down. So I really need things to rally for me to get into them, and go from there. But that said, I think the numbers in and of itself are freaking gross that came out. So bear with me, guys. Give me a second. Sorry. So if we look at that, I'll take your questions till 9, and then I'm going to have to jump here. It's not going to be a Santa rally. I don't think you have any shot of a Santa rally. I don't think you have any shot of that right now. I think that what they're doing is understanding like that these tariffs are done. Like these tariffs, they're done. And I think that's what you're seeing in this space. So this is probably going to become like one of the greatest opportunities ever to own retail stocks, probably in a long time. It's pretty textbook stuff. Came back, gap filled, ran, do you come back and gap fill again? I don't know. I don't know that you do. But what are you at, 52-week highs? So here's the earnings. There's the backfill. There you go. Like, it's like a no-brainer. Look at ANF. Like, this stuff's just ripping. So where does it go? It probably goes a lot higher. You just probably really want to watch them. But they probably go a lot higher. I'm surprised Kohl's really isn't participating. And makes me wonder why, but it's not. But some of these others like Macy's and, I think the money's just transferring into those because it just makes sense to with the tariffs. Nike's this week too, but I think Nike has a lot of issues. There's a lot there. They really destroyed that brand, like just absolutely destroyed it. So there's a lot of damage there. I don't know how they're ever going to really fix it. So, I don't know. It's interesting. The other one was Starbucks. Everyone's like talking about Starbucks. I think Starbucks has got a real problem on their hands because you still are getting what are you guys paying for a cup of coffee there? And everybody's kind of over like their mocha frappuccino things that have like 1,100 calories in it and like 4 cans of sugar. So what are they selling again? Coffee? Okay. And some like different kinds of mixed drinks, like, and you go into them, like even in Miami, when I go into them, like they're not even clean. Like it's kind of gross. So, I don't know, man. I'm not really feeling, I think they got a lot of problems there. So I do. I think there's a lot of problems there now. I don't know how they're going to turn that around. I think some of these brands are like, there was a time when like that was it and it's not it anymore. I don't know that they're going to be able to get that kind of cool back. ZIM, there's nothing really to do with this. Someday it gets bought or someday it starts paying huge dividends again, one or the other. I don't really think it's something that you trade. I think it's something that you just own and forget that you own. That's what I've done with it, John. And I think that's there. As far as the VIX, it doesn't really want to seem to get out of the way. I don't know how much longer it's going to be able to do that and not get out of the way. SBSW. So I have no idea what this is. I don't have a clue. I'd be talking out of my butt. I would really be talking out of my butt. I have no idea, dude. This is where the cool kids are. Yeah, I mean, someone asked me the other day, am I ready to buy $100 t-shirt to work out in? No, because I'm a man. So why would I do that? That's ridiculous. But it's interesting. Yeah. I think the one thing that you should take away from the conference call, if you haven't listened to it, I keep telling people to start listening to these conference calls. The one thing that I would definitely tell you to watch is you really want to, man, this cold's kicking my ass. You really want to watch the top of that. But Chip coming out and saying, what do you want? Hold on one second. I should have muted this. Sorry. But if you look at something like this and you listen to the conference call, the fact that the founder's like, you guys are screwing up my company, that's where it gets interesting. Because I agree with them. Like, man, you guys are really screwing up this company. Like, this is where, ladies went to buy like cool, fashionable stuff that they could work out on and get all pumped up and go do Pilates, right? Or yoga, or whatever those crazy kids are doing these days. And now you're trying to like, what we're going to do is we're going to get dudes to buy $100 t-shirts. Like, no. And nobody, and like no woman wants to like go out there and buy clothes that some like effeminate man is wearing. So like, I don't know, man, they got to get the brand back on track. So it is what it is. I think it's an interesting trade for sure. I think you got to get through it. I really like to see if you can flip that daily. I think the undercut's telling you something. That undercut actually reminds me a lot here of this rally and pullback. And I think people are going to look for the next one, John. HUBG. I have no idea what this thing does, dude. Not a clue. Straight up, but not a clue. I'd be the wrong person to ask on this one. Lily, I had a shot yesterday. I missed it, so I'm not chasing it. Pardon me, I'm not chasing anything in this market. Really, the trade was probably this day. I was hoping that I'd open flattish, then get involved, use the low of the doji. It broke out without me. I'm not chasing it, but it looks great. You're clearly, like if I get some other kind of pullback, you're clearly going to go back to that 1100. They just let it sell down. They found the doji. You flipped that doji right here. You could actually even have used this close and gotten into it and then used the low of 986. You would have been in for like super cheap to get involved in it. And then just leave it on. If it worked, it worked. If not, it didn't. That's how I see that. But I like Lily here. I just missed the trade. There's really no, I don't really have, I just missed it. Yeah, I think Irene's in a lot of trouble. A lot. So for me, it's more about, can I get back up to that level? And if so, that's probably where I would have shorted. But all those names are in a lot of trouble. Like Wolf, like these things are going to get destroyed, like destroyed. Wolf, CIFR, like all of this. So whether you believe in it or not, it's not really going to matter. I mean, like this is textbook head and shoulders, breaks the neckline, C at 7 kind of stuff. That's kind of where I think this is going. So my hope with it is that there's some kind of bounce there. IREN has our put wall at 35. Maybe you can bounce off of that. Maybe. Let's go take a look at this. Yeah, once you broke 39, that was it. Gloves were off. I should have looked at that earlier. Oh, pardon me. Yeah, I mean, 34 might be a little tough. But I think you're heading back. I think you're heading all the way back to like 20. I think these things are going to get absolutely, they're just going to get cracked. I'm Oh, you split it. Damn it. Am I going to make as much money if you split it? It's not as much fun. I mean, it's still going to be a 0, but I don't know. Maybe it's easier to manage now. Oh, good. Rally up. Oh, give me 1 second here. Yeah, I'd be careful with the cruise lines, dude. I'd be real careful with those. At the lower end of that range, but I don't know, man. They're really going after retail today. Big time. Like they really want to be in the retail names, but I'm not sure that makes the most sense. I'm not feeling it, dude. When I look at something like that, and then I see like Goldman doing this, and I'm just not feeling it. The JP Morgan trade was easy. I did that at like 300 and 303, and then traded it back up to 318. I got out. XLI. I'd watch the dollar here. If the dollar gets weaker, XLI should go higher. What's up, AVGO? I think that you have a lot of selling pressure there. I was short yesterday. I closed it because I just didn't want the risk of non-farm payrolls. It's very clear that you're probably going to fill this. That's what I think is going to happen. I think you're going to come down to 300. Pardon me. So BMY, I don't really care about. Oracle. Oracle's not going to go away till this probably doesn't really stop until that CDS turns around, which is kind of stupid. BMY, I mean, like, there's not really much to say. Like, a lot of these names are going to see a ton of money because people just don't know where to park capital right now. So you're seeing it in Merck, all these pharma names. They're all going to have the same chart, essentially. Like, people are going to want to park money in them. So I think it makes sense. I'm going to try to go through these fast. Okay, I'll start humming. Those numbers were a disaster. Yeah, like those kinds of names, like all that kind of stuff is going to work. Like Pfizer, like that's when you're seeing like BMY. Like the reason I'm like I don't really care because like they're just going to transfer money into them. You know what I mean? Like Merck, like it doesn't matter. They're just looking for a place to park capital. Apparently not in this one. And that's kind of how you want to say it. So, thanks, Jerome. That makes sense that he would be in that. I brew them at home. That's what I tend to do too. I think that's like, I think Dollar Tree, Dollar General, Five Below, like all those stores, it's like one big chart, you know, it really has been. They were supposed to get destroyed in April, you know, and this thing's tripled since then, and you haven't had to do a thing with it. You know, like they've all just absolutely exploded since then. Doubles, triples, like it's kind of crazy, really. Because, you know, there's more expensive items, so people are just going there. So it is what it is. MSTR, it's probably going to get smoked like the rest of those things. I would think you're going back to 114. It's kind of what I've been saying for some time, but you know, Bitcoin's going to get smoked. I mean, that's pretty obvious. I think that's the most obvious trade out there. That Bitcoin's just going to get absolutely wrecked. So, you know, I don't think anybody's like, does anyone think that this thing's going up? I don't think anybody thinks this thing's going anywhere, but you know, it's back ready to get smoked. So, you know, all the demand went away. So they were going to create a sovereign fund. Then you had all those treasuries, and all those treasuries, everyone's like, well, wait a minute. Why don't I just buy it myself? What do I need these treasuries for? Which was the right way to look at it. So, you know, after you break 74, you know, you're looking at like 40. So people will be like, oh, I can't get there. I mean, every correction usually is about 80% on this. So 80% takes you to what? 23, 24. So I figure that's where it's going again, something like that. I mean, if you look at every single correction, when people think that it can't get there, right? It's where it gets there, and everyone's like, oh, well, it's dead, and blah, blah, blah. And you start going through, it's like, all right, well, there's 78%. Like, it's not once that it's done it. It's like over and over again. When it cracks, it's like 80%, you know? And so I think that's what you're heading up here for too. It's the same exact setup you had here. It's the same exact setup you had here. Like literally, if you go look at the RSI, it's the same setup. So I figure you're probably going to correct to that. I wouldn't be surprised to see it. People seem to think it needs to stop at what it costs to mine it, which is probably one of the dumbest arguments I've ever heard. But, you know, maybe you stop at 74, maybe. But I don't think so, man. Like, I think it's in a hell of a lot of trouble. When you look at this and you realize that the RSI over here versus where you are here, like, you know, you're going to have your rallies up and everything. But, yeah. You know, you had all this fake buying. You know, people were buying this kind of garbage, you know, thinking they owned something. You know, That's crazy. Got everybody to buy this thing, and now it comes out and says, "Oh, the market's going to drop 10 to 15%." So, until one of these things, like this is how I look at Bitcoin. One of these things needs to blow up. Like BMNR needs to blow up. SBET needs to blow up. This ETHZ needs to blow up. They're the only ones that's actually doing it right, where they're selling their stock every time it's under the NAV. So at least they have the underlying asset left at the end of it. But BMNR will be forced to sell. Like they'll get into a forced sale position, or SBET will. And I think that's probably what marks the bottom of it. It probably takes months before it happens. So for MSTR, they're going to bear the brunt of it, because people are going to lump them in with those other ones, but it's not the same thing. But I think it presents a huge opportunity when it finally washes out. But, you're probably going down to like that 110 level. Is where I think it's going. Yay. I don't know that I'd be doing lottos. I don't know that I'd be doing lottos, Tim. The thing for me with these kinds of names, when you look at them, is they're clearly in trouble. Like these are technical breaks that you're going through. And pardon me. Yeah, I mean, that's really how I say it. I don't know you have to rush into them, but I think there's some real technical breaks there. UNP. I got the black lung paw. Yeah, they're fine. We went through it this morning. I went through all my levels this morning. I got the black lung paw. Yeah, I think that you can get there. I think that there's a real argument to be made that this thing gets absolutely smoked. Like if you take the other side of it, like let's just walk through it. Like let's take the other side of it. And you look at it and say, like, why did it go up? Like think about it. Like, why did you go up? Like, what? Why did we go up? Oh, well, we were down here, right? And then we were getting all that, change and hope and like, oh, everything's gonna be great. And then we rallied up, right? And then you see November, and then the year, and this is it. We're gonna have like a Bitcoin sovereign fund, and everyone's gonna have Bitcoin, and all the states are gonna do Bitcoin, and then the universities are gonna do Bitcoin. Have you seen any government or any state buy one Bitcoin? No, he said, oh, this Bitcoin that we have over here, we're just going to turn that into a sovereign fund. That's what he did. So the whole reason you were up, and then all these other funds came in and said, oh, well, we're going to be a Bitcoin treasury, which is the stupidest thing in the world. Like of all the dumbest things to be, a Bitcoin treasury, like I can't think of anything dumber, but if you look at it from that standpoint, like, why are you up? All that demand was false. Like none of that came true, right? And all the people that bought through those treasuries, they're all smoked. Like they're absolute toast. So the thing about like MSTR and why MSTR worked is because MSTR could issue a convertible, and then insurance companies could buy the convertible and have exposure to Bitcoin through the convertible because they could buy a debt instrument, but they couldn't buy crypto. So it actually served a need. The other things don't serve a need. So you have to get rid of that excess before it goes higher. And so I think that the way to look at this is to understand that. And then say, well, where's the demand coming from? Like where's the massive demand coming from? Oh, well, there's only so many of them. Well, there's only so many blue beanie babies. You're going to go buy those? Like, you have to think about, like, where's that demand really coming from? And I don't think that I don't know. No one can seem to answer that question. So, all right, I'm out of here.